Nightfall over the foothills of the Rocky Mountains just outside Salt Lake City in Sandy, Utah. The end of the USL season is upon us at Rio Tinto Stadium. Playoff positions are up for grabs. The mascots, the officials, the players all ready to go. It's our United Soccer League Game of the Week. Mike Watt's joined by George D. Metellus, and, well, hey, you can make or break your chance at a playoff run in a game like this. Both teams have 3 to go. These are 3 important points on the line.
Oh, absolutely. Massive points for both teams. And in a sense, although mathematically it might not be the case, the loser of this game is essentially out of the playoff chase. As I said, mathematically they would still have a chance, obviously depending on what Orange County Blues do over the next couple of rounds. But it's almost an elimination game, so these 3 points are so huge.
San Antonio is going to be relying on Carlos Alvarez. He scored in 2 games running.
Yep, and he scored last week in their last match in a 3-1 loss against St. Louis FC, so he will be crucial for San Antonio going forward. He has to have a big game. He's the number 10, and he leads the team in assists as well.
Few players in the United Soccer League have Olympic experience. Elder Torres is one of them. Played for Honduras.
Yeah, finished 4th for Honduras in Rio just a couple of months ago. He will be a crucial player in attack for Real Salt Lake. They will need him because Ricardo Velasco can't do it himself, so Elder Torres is going to have to come through and provide some excellent service in the attack for the home team.
Let's take a look at the starting lineups. And we begin with Darren Powell's 11. 4 changes from their 3-1 loss against St. Louis.
Yeah, for San Antonio, look out for Carlos Alvarez. Obviously, we mentioned his 6 assists. The team lead, Rafa Castillo, is on the bench. Sean Chin is a player that can take on defenders one-on-one, break them down, and also set up Johnson and Morgan as well. So how those 3 play up top will be important for San Antonio.
And that's a loaded bench for San Antonio FC. Meanwhile, on the other side, Real Monarchs, 4 changes themselves. They're coming off a 2-0 loss in a huge game in terms of playoff implication, the OC Blues.
Yeah, OC Blues currently 8th place in the USL standings in terms of the Western Conference, but Ricardo Velasco, the team leader in goals and assists, everything goes through him. If Velasco and Torres can work well together, they will cause a very shaky San Antonio FC defense a lot of problems.
Real Monarchs sitting 11th in the Western Conference, 33 points. San Antonio, 35 points. They're 9th place in the West. A chance to make the playoffs could be on the line tonight. When we return, San Antonio and Real Monarchs, the United Soccer League Game of the Week.
Stretched out to the middle, back to
broke it up. There's a shot. They score! They score! Gerardo forwards.
Back at Rio Tinto Stadium in Sandy, Utah, San Antonio FC from expansion franchise to the edge of the playoff picture, and Darren Powell has been at the helm of a team that's gotten better and better as the year has gone along. 10 years at the helm for Elon, and now with an injury-ravaged team, he's got them in 9th place and very much in the playoff picture. Meanwhile, the other bench led by Freddie Juarez, his 2nd season for Real Monarchs, and 2016 may feel like deja vu in the end. The final stretch of last year, 6 games unbeaten, had them still at the bottom of the West, but feeling quite good about themselves. They went 5 unbeaten going into their last game, a loss to OC Blues, but certainly the best soccer they've played has come at the end of the season.
Yep, for Freddie Juarez and, of course, Darren Powell as well. This game is so crucial. The 3 points will help them get closer to the top 8 spot in the Western Conference and get into the playoffs, obviously, but also just for their form, just to see how well the fitness is, to see how well the players understand the tactics and the strategy of the managers as well at this point of the season. The mental fatigue is something that is always something to watch out for at this part of the season. So much riding on this game, not just in terms of the standings, but also just the state of the team as the playoffs get closer.
Brad Jensen blows his whistle, underway in Utah. Tough to underscore just how valuable these points could be for both these teams. A draw puts neither in playoff position. A win puts San Antonio into 8th, a chance to control their own destiny. Velasco going up the right side, punched away by Cardoni, who's been called into service for San Antonio with Josh Ford injured. Game of our last USL Game of the Week stop in San Antonio last month.
Not the most confident of punches out there by Cardoni. Bounces on the ground. Most goalkeepers would try to bring that in. So a little bit of a shaky start for Cardoni. We'll see if he can get a little more confidence as the game progresses.
Salazar playing it away from Ramirez. This is a team that has handful of new players, Real Monarchs. The cross played through towards Velasco off the head of McBride. Here's Jesus Leal, those new players. And that's the thing for Real Monarchs. They're trying to get in players, whether they're cast away from Liga MX teams like Leal, who was with Club America, a very notable franchise in Liga MX, or maybe lesser known names. They want to try and find out, maybe make them a more known commodity, their scouting group.
Yeah, but you never know when you're going to find those jewels that can help your team win a championship, or in the case of Real Monarchs, get into the playoffs. And there's so much talent in this CONCACAF region, if you will. So anywhere they can find those jewels, unearth a great gem of a talent, it'll certainly help the team going forward.
Charles Adams grinding it out. He played last year in Louisville City and was signed on August 3rd. Adams pushing ahead, touched outside by Torres. Lakawecki looking for a handball, and it won't come, merely a throw-in.
Yeah, I think Lakawecki has a good point there. It looked like it went off the hand there, but good triangulation and passing and movement off the ball by Real early on.
Adams spinning away now from Alvarez. Danilo Acosta. And all the possession belonging right now to Real Monarchs in the blue and white jerseys. And down goes Alvarez. Adams, the foul, and you can see Alvarez still trying to make his point. That cleat may have gotten up on his ankle. He's pointing at it now.
Yep. Let's see it's a late challenge by Adams. He's saying that he got the ball. That's a late challenge there. I think Adams probably should have gone into the book for that one. He's lucky he didn't get a yellow card.
Just his second start as a member of Real Monarchs. Trying to round
One thing about Real Monarchs that I'm seeing here just very early in the game, they want to play the ball quickly. One touch, move, get players in the space. And to do that, you need a lot of possession. And very early on, they've had the majority of the ball. Obviously, you have to see how the rest of the first half progresses. But especially when they get into the midfield, they want to touch it quick. 1-2, move and play into space. And to combat that, San Antonio has to be a little physical.
There's Leal dropping it off. And the obvious question for Real Monarchs, yeah, they're possessing the ball, but they've done a lot of that this year, and still they've only scored 26 goals. That's 28th in the league, and the only team beneath them in that category are the Tulsa Roughnecks. And, well, they aren't anywhere near playoff position. They were the first to be eliminated.
It's the old soccer adage. You can have all the possession, you can have all the passing. It's about finishing. You need someone up top who can finish those opportunities. You need that last fluid movement in the attacking third in order to get it done, and they just haven't been able to do that this season.
A battle all the way down, and it was McBride who was there on the end line. It's simply a goal kick for Matt Cardone. The local boy done good. MacArthur High School, right outside Toyota Field in San Antonio.
And he has an epic, epic beard.
It's definitely up there among the top in USL goalkeepers.
Yeah, I'm sure it might be the top in just American soccer in general. It is, that is an epic beard.
That's definitely an NHL playoff beard.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Played over towards Morgan. Johnson still chasing after it. Here's Okwanu. Launching it ahead, and there's no one there. Ryan Rochandel is back there, making his debut for San Antonio in the starting lineup.
Let's see, both times Real Monarchs tried to play the ball long, it connected with no one. So that's not what Freddie Juarez wants his team to do. They want him to possess the ball. He wants them to possess the ball. Quick one touch through the midfield. And we haven't seen Ricardo Velasco with too many touches so early in this game.
Haven't seen a lot of Lalo Fernandez either. Goalkeeper for Salt Lake City getting his first touch. And I think that's going to be the question of the game offensively for Real Monarchs. How patient are they? They've controlled the ball so much. Do they lose that patience and ship the ball away in a way that doesn't really give you a better shot in an attacking move?
Well, this is something they have to do. They have to play the ball out wide to Lakoweki and Okwonu. And also Leal and Adams, they're going to have to be those two players in the midfield to connect the defense with the attack. You can see Adams already kind of directing traffic, pointing out where the ball should go. They have to make themselves available so that they can move the ball up the field and then start to make moves with Velasco and Torres and Ramirez. So that's the key to breaking down San Antonio for Real in this game. Adams and Leal have to be more aggressive with the ball on their feet.
7 minutes played, and I could say the teams are feeling each other out, but in truth, Real Monarchs simply probing San Antonio in the early going.
For sure, it's...
There's Morgan, and finally a couple of passes in a row for San Antonio. That can't be underscored how valuable that is.
Oh, that's brilliant soccer right there. Well done.
Chin going up the line. Johnson, and there's nobody there. Had Morgan there on the wrong post. And all of a sudden a corner kick for a San Antonio team that hadn't seen the ball for the better part of 8 minutes.
It was fantastic soccer down that far side, down the left side of their attack by San Antonio. Making the run and then the quick one touch in the space. And it didn't lead to a shot on goal, but it leads to a corner kick. This could be dangerous.
Alvarez swings it in. Took one hop. Johnson rising up. Falls to McBride. His shot, he's looking for a handball. Won't be called. Settled down, setting up a shot that runs wide. San Antonio has held the ball for a total of 30 seconds, and yet they've got the best opportunities of the match.
This is well done by San Antonio. It is the man, Carlos Alvarez, number 10, the man that we talked about in the pregame show heading into as a player to watch for San Antonio, sent in the corner, And you got to like the aggressiveness. He saw the space. He had the opportunity. Go on goal. Lalo Fernandez could not do anything about it. It went wide. But if he was able to tuck it in that far post, we're looking at 1-0.
And how about Sam McBride? The shot blocked on the way in, but he had a good look at it too, leading into that eventual shot by Alvarez.
And that's something that I'm sure Freddie Juarez is upset about. There was some soft marking there around the penalty area, losing their markers, and that allowed them to get that shot off.
Morgan on the back of Lakawecki. Controlled by Acosta.
Seeing a lot of backward passes from Leal. That's not good for Real Monarchs. They have to be seeing the field, making quicker decisions, making themselves available in the right spaces. San Antonio pressing very high.
Leal 42 in blue tonight. Pedro Baez is in an offside position, it appeared. Baez, discovery signing from Paraguay, 19 years old. They've got an option to buy him, and that's, I mentioned it earlier in the match, that's something Real Monarchs have a unique opportunity to take advantage of. Players where Real Salt Lake, they just want to know the player better, see if they fit the system. And if they do, potentially bring some players in who could change the game for a franchise that already does such a good job nurturing young talent. Cardone here to control it.
And in the days of Jason Christ, Real Salt Lake, the parent club, were a little bit revolutionary in how they played. More possession, 4-3-3. They wanted to make sure that they had more of the ball. It was more about skill and less about athleticism. So they were a little bit ahead of their time. Real Salt Lake, remember, they made it all the way to the CONCACAF Champions League final. So looks like that philosophy of player development and that eye for skill is still there for Real Salt Lake and obviously the Monarchs as well.
Turriere. There's Jason Johnson. Last goal came on the 30th of April. This is a pass for Chin that comes to Fernandez. And again, no need to go long. The patience continues for Real Monarchs. At some point, you think this wears on San Antonio.
Yes, for sure. You can see that they are pressing high, San Antonio. 6 players without the ball in their attacking half, pressing, trying to regain possession quickly so they can score or at least really test Lalo Fernandez. But when you press that high, eventually, especially in the second half, you wear down, you leave your back line exposed because they're pushing up high as well. And then Real Monarchs can get a lot of goal-scoring opportunities. So that's usually what happens.
Turriere chipping over the top, and Chin was offside. Sean Chin finally healthy. This is his 4th game back after missing nearly 2 months.
Ooh, that's tight. I don't think so. I don't think so. That is very close there. I think he was on.
Time to start watching that line for San Antonio now, pushing against the back 2, including a young Acosta. They'll try and catch him again. That's the 2nd time they've gone long in that direction.
And the more a team has possession, the more that back line just creeps up higher and higher and higher. Chin is a player that has excellent speed. He has good pace. The right dispossession of the ball, a turnover in the midfield, quick pass out. You can get Chin getting behind the defense.
It's Alvarez dropping off. Johnson plays it to Chin, right to Alvarez, and just knocked away by Kavita.
San Antonio showing some creativity, some good movement off the ball, some quick passing as well. That's the way you disrupt the defense. Good movement off the ball into space, and then when it comes to you, you have other players moving as well. You quick one touch, makes things happen. It also sets up for some attractive soccer as well.
There's McBride and Turriere. native of St. Petersburg, Florida, but was on the Haitian Copa America squad, the preliminary 28 earlier in the summer. San Antonio tries to go long now. And knocked away from Chin by Fanuel Kavita.
Well, the good thing about that long ball for Chin is that San Antonio picked up some yardage, to borrow an American football term. so now they'll be able to have the ball deep in their own territory, in Real's territory there, and let's see if they can use that quick passing that they've shown so far to open up some spaces and get a shot on Fernandez.
Yeah, very much changing the field position
Yes.
there, punting that away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thrown in for Johnson, one of the good scorers in USL history. Looking for a deflection, and Okwanu did not touch it. You can see the two, some toothy grins, some back and forth.
Yep. Johnson got caught a little too deep, and he didn't have anyone to help him out. No one was coming over to provide an outlet so he can get out of that jam, and he tried to just play it off of Okwanu, and it didn't work. And Johnson has got to be very aware of that sideline. When you're an attacker, the sideline is not your friend. It is the friend of the defender.
Cardoni there to pull it in. A couple of claps for good measure. Sam McBride played for Darren Powell since his youth, went to Elon University. He's the center back wearing 4. Dropped off, played by Torres. Leal pushing it ahead. Torres circling back for the ball. Shoveling it up the right side. Now looking for an option down the middle. McBride there. Morgan trying to finish the clearance. And does.
How surprising is that, huh? A McBride who's good in the air with his head. Where have I seen that before?
Yeah. He's got the name, that's for sure.
Yep.
That's as high a praise as you can give.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Brian McBride was a great aerial threat.
One of the
his
greatest,
day.
yeah. Comes Salazar.
And this is what San Antonio have to do here now. I mean, not turn the ball over, but patiently build through the midfield. Salazar was able to get a touch. We haven't seen too much of him as well, but when he did get that touch in the middle, he wasn't pressed. So Real is not pressing up on San Antonio the way San Antonio is doing it to them, and San Antonio is being very physical.
Velasco, Lakawecki off the chest of the defender, and a penalty. That got up on McBride, and Real Monarchs could take the lead at the spot in the 18th minute.
You know, I thought, like you did, Mike, I thought that was off of his chest. Let's see, take a look at it. Oh, no, that's off his chest. That is not a handball.
Not from that angle, at least.
Now, we saw one. There was a possible handball about 10 minutes earlier that the referee missed. Let's see.
His arm is extended, and it leaves you open to that belief.
Oh, the referee, what I'm seeing there, the referee might have seen that the ball goes off his right arm, because you can see that right arm kind of fling back as if it was impacted by the ball.
He was opening himself up to the ball.
Yeah, so maybe that's what the referee saw there.
Pedro Baez looking for his first goal. The 19-year-old forward is a member of the Monarchs against Cardoni. Shoots left, knocked away by Cardoni.
Wow.
Terrific save. Fear the beard. It's the left hand of Cardoni.
It's not a bad penalty kick, but Cardoni guesses correctly, gets that hand up. The beard is strong. It's like Samson, you can't cut his hair. His strength is in his beard. Well done by Matt Cardoni, and for San Antonio, justice is served.
Absolutely remarkable, that save by Cardoni. You need some serious strength in your hand to knock that away.
Well done for sure. That is a great save, great anticipation. And for those that are watching that want to practice penalty kicks, that's why you kick your penalty kicks with a lot of strength, a lot of power, and you don't put them in that middle, you put them upper 90. So even if the goalkeeper guesses correctly, it's very difficult to stop them.
Well, that won't decide anything about Baez's future, his ability or inability to make a single penalty, but certainly would have liked to have put that home and put himself on the score sheet for the first time. And of course, the Real Monarchs' continued struggles to score in any way drags on in the season's final 3 games.
And that's got to be frustrating. And I know a lot of times people say taking a penalty kick and making it's luck, it's a lottery. But you know what? It's like basketball free throws. You have to practice them. Every practice, every training session, you have to practice so that when you do step up, you know what you're doing, it's comfortable, it's relaxing, and you score the goal. So I don't know if Baez was practicing them or not, but I think the next training session that they have, he's going to be taking about 5 or 10.
And we saw an instance where Kaká gave a penalty away to a less experienced penalty taker earlier this year for Orlando City. Let's get him on the board. Here's your first goal. Go put it home, and he did. Well, you've got some experienced guys. Ricardo Velasco's got 8 goals this year. And it's the 19-year-old player from Paraguay who goes up to the spot.
Right.
And, of course, your season's very much on the line in this game if you're Real Monarchs sitting in 11th place.
It has to be something that they decided before the game.
Yes.
That the coach said, okay, Baez is taking the PKs in this one. But I'm sure if the occasion comes up again, Velasco will be.
Velasco spinning that in, handled by Cardoni. But look, there's no one on the team who, in terms of forwards, who's younger, maybe less experienced with this franchise. So he's given the big moment, and Cardoni simply came up a little bit bigger. Cardoni doesn't do as many wrist curls. That's probably in the net anyways.
Those goalkeeping gloves sure help a lot. That's for sure. Those goalkeeping gloves are massive.
Taylor Morgan bringing down Ricardo Velasco. Velasco signed to a first-team contract on here this week on the 6th of September. And he's the first player to make the move from Casa Grande in Arizona up to the USL affiliate, up to Major League Soccer. Number 10 in blue.
Well done. That's good to hear. Ricardo Velasco, he's earned it. Team leader in assists and goals. He's definitely earned it.
And we've seen him a couple of times this year. He's certainly worthy beyond the stat sheet because his numbers have dropped off the table since June. 2 goals, 2 assists since the 2nd week of June, but that's not why he's going to the big leagues.
Yeah, but it's about depth, but a lot of times when these players, it's about attitude, it's character,
Exactly.
how they fit in the locker room, the chemistry, and he's shown that he has that chemistry, yeah.
And he goes down again, and for the 2nd time he's grabbing for that left cleat.
In San Antonio, we've seen them have some physical challenges, if you will, get into the boot or the leg of a Real player and create some strong physical contact. I haven't seen any cards yet, but if they continue to do so, I suspect the cards will be coming out pretty soon.
Velasco drops that towards Okioma, and he's got a bit of confusion there with McBride. It works out, though, as Morgan takes over. Duryea blasted from the side and down at midfield.
And this is where they've been the most dangerous, down the left side for San Antonio.
Johnson is brought down by Okwanu. Clean play. So the onus goes on Boyd Okwanu back here, along with Fanuel Kavita, to stand up to the task.
And San Antonio, they've been pressing, and they're forcing Real to play the ball backwards a lot more than they should, or a lot more than they want to.
Velasco trying to create here with Adams. Up by Okioma. A throw for San Antonio, a team that comes off a disheartening 3-1 loss as Irvin Herrera returned in St. Louis and scored a hat trick, including 2 in the second half.
And San Antonio's midfield especially has completely disrupted what Real Monarchs want to do. You can see them getting a little desperate, playing the long ball. It's become a situation now where they just haven't been able to figure out this high pressing by San Antonio. 5 players in their offensive half when they don't have the ball. You don't see that too often. And right now, Real Monarchs just trying to play it out from the back, and they just haven't been able to do it. Once again, a long ball attempt. That's Adams and Leal. They just haven't been able to figure out how to get that ball through the midfield and try to connect up top with Torres and Baez.
Johnson and Okwanu battling again. This is clearly the matchup of the game.
Yeah.
Going the other way for San Antonio, while it's been whether or not Adams and Leal can get the ball deep for Salt Lake City. It's this right here for San Antonio.
And San Antonio's best chances have come out wide on the left side of their attack, with Johnson and Salazar and Chin dropping back in there, playing the ball quickly as well.
This laced right through. Morgan cutting it back and looking for Chin.
And that's a great team movement by San Antonio. The problem there was Chin, instead of making a run to the near post, he goes to the far post. And so he puts the defender in between the ball and himself. And that basically takes him out of the play. He has to cut inside the defender toward the ball, and Morgan can connect with him, and then he gets a shot on frame.
Ramirez. Now gives it back. Up the right side. This is an area that Real Salt Lake have tried to get into, rather the Monarchs, but they haven't quite been able to break through yet. Okwanu dropping it back. Chin taking it away from Leal. And Chin taking on the whole defense, but that last touch not as good as the first handful.
And Chin needs to just play until he hears a whistle or something. He's looking back while he's dribbling with his hands up like, where's the foul? Where's my teammate? Something. Just keep going forward, attack, and then if there's a foul or your teammates come through, then you make that action happen. But it looked like he was complaining while he was dribbling. Just finish the movement. He has the speed, he has the skills. He's very good with the ball at his feet. Take on those defenders if your teammates aren't there and see what happens.
Well, and if advantage is played, you'll get the call later.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Duryea for Chin. Taken away by Kavita. Leal. And a hefty collision there. Rushing in was Salazar. Ran over Velasco. Velasco's taken a lot of abuse tonight,
Yes,
to be
he
fair.
has. Absolutely, that is for sure. But this is what you have to do when you have a team who is allowing some space in the midfield between those two lines, if you will, and they've been congesting that back line, that final third. Run at a player, try to create some gaps, try to create an opening, and see if you can get a free kick, a set-piece opportunity. And I think Velasco figured it out, which is probably why he's the team leader in goals and assists and the captain.
30th minute scoreless. Best chance to San Antonio. Best possession belonging to Real Monarchs. And this one of the better set-piece opportunities for the Monarchs. A lot of options here.
It wouldn't surprise me if he tries to go for goal here from this distance and that angle. Especially a right-footed player can bend it around the wall.
Velasco chips it over, looking, Okwanu. Going right into the back, make it Kavita. And went into the back, the defender McBride.
Ball is floated in there by Velasco. And yeah, definitely Kavita comes over the back. I think Cardoni was thinking about coming out and getting the ball, but instead stayed back on his line. He knew that McBride had Kavita marked. And it wind up working well for San Antonio because there was a foul and they regained the possession.
And credit to our Rush Media crew in Salt Lake City tonight who made that look quite picturesque. If that goes in, that's the kind of thing that you find on a highlight reel. The ball curled in just right. If Kavita doesn't ride down McBride, talking about a very beautiful look at that. Tourrier, there's an option on the right-hand side, Morgan, that they can't find. Now things have balanced out. Okioma. There's Chin. May have been pulled down. The whistle didn't come and the ball kicked out.
Carlos Alvarez is in the middle now. He floated into the middle atop the penalty area and he was asking for it. He was unmarked. He was asking for it, but he just could not get the ball to him.
Morgan for Chin. There's Okwanu, three-time first-team All-ACC at North Carolina.
Very good soccer tradition at the University of North Carolina.
Men's and women's
Yes.
side, yeah.
Especially the women's with Anson Dorrance is the coach. The legendary basketball coach Dean Smith once said, Carolina is a soccer school.
Yeah, I think Cat Whitehill, among others, would agree with the sentiment, right?
Oh, yeah. For a long time, the women's national team was almost exclusively North Carolina Tar Heels. So great soccer tradition down there in Chapel Hill.
There's Kavita. Started in the homegrown game for Major League Soccer against the youth Mexican side. Driving forward was Ramirez. Spun out by Baez. Knocked back by Adams. Here's Leal.
Baez, you can still tell that he is learning. When he got that touch on the ball, instead of trying to play it forward quickly, he kind of spun around to see what was going on. So he's still trying to figure some things out with his teammates.
Baez chesting this backward. It comes back to him, and he lays it up the right-hand side. Ramirez, Cochran, the captain, on his back. Couple passes in reverse, leading to this cross. Away. The head of Tourrier. And Lakawecki from the other side here.
I haven't seen too much attacking from the wingbacks, the fullbacks in this game, whether it's Okuyoma or Cochran for San Antonio or Okwonu or Lakaweki for Real Monarchs. And that's something that I'm sure might change in the second half. Usually when those fullbacks push up, that kind of opens up some spaces in the defense because they have to play out a little wider, and that can open things up in the middle. So we'll see.
Somehow that's the first card of the match, and it goes against Turriere. That's his 4th yellow card of the season, so still not at the point where he'd sit for accumulation.
And compared to some of the other fouls we've seen in this match, that's harsh. That is harsh. For some of the other fouls we've seen that did not get cards, that's a little harsh.
You mean every foul against Ricardo Velasco,
Pretty
for
much.
example? Right.
Yeah. Velasco could have already had 3 or 4 San Antonio players in the book there. I think Darren Powell in this particular instance has a legitimate case.
Although he might be arguing, hey, my other players deserve yellows, not Turriere. Come on.
Of all the players, yeah.
This lifted through flag finally comes up for offside. This won't count. Hear a bit of cheering here. It doesn't matter. McBride had his hand up, and he never followed the runner in Velasco.
And it's a good thing he didn't. You know, you have to. One thing about back lines, especially when you're playing in unison, is you move up together, you drop back together. If one person breaks the line, or they play too far back, they play it over the top, and he's on sides, and then you're in serious problems. So that's very important. The communication and the movement of a back line can be the difference between a loss and the victory and the goals, obviously.
Alvarez playing Morgan here. Has Chin down the middle. He sends it across the face of goal and out over the end line.
Morgan is playing out wide on the right and finally gets a little bit of an opportunity. Remember, Real Monarchs, they're marking. They have not been pressing. It's been kind of a soft defense, if you will, for Monarchs. And when he had his opportunity, he took it, just missed it wide. But it's good that he's finding that space to be able to threaten the goal of Lalo Fernandez.
I think Ramirez is arguing that the number of fouls should be a yellow in its own right there.
You can always do like basketball. You get 7.5.
Is that
you get the bonus free throw? You get 7.5. You get a penalty kick?
Not quite.
Yeah.
Not quite.
I think FIFA should institute that rule. That would make games a lot more free-flowing.
That's the hottest of hot takes we've had this entire season.
Hey.
That's scorching, George.
Why not? Well, a lot of people complain about soccer, football, that it's slower, the pace. If teams get only 6 fouls a half and they give up a penalty, team players will be a lot less likely to foul. Maybe you get more free-flowing game, more open game, more goals. You never know.
So do we go back to the clock counting down?
No.
McBride.
I like the 0 to 45, 45 to 90. I like that.
A hand went up and a player went down. Lakawecki still on the attack and knocked away by Okioma. Back to his feet now and walking away is Velasco. Look at Baez there, who got knocked down.
That hit in the mouth, but Baez, Paraguayan, playing in Paraguay. That's a nation that is very used to having physical football, so he's used to it.
Velasco will take the corner. Good header away, Leal. Turriere closed down on him quickly. Okioma. And knew he could have done better there. Got away from Chin.
Yeah, Real tried to switch sides, but what happened was the intended target on the left side was way too deep, and that angle was just too much. You want to keep the ball on the ground. You're playing out wide that far. it doesn't make any sense to be teetering on the outside. You want to teeter in the middle, not out wide. So whoever's out wide has to drop back a little bit more if when they try to switch sides.
Baez gets this ball on the left wing. Velasco. It's it back from Ramirez. Baez sending it to the middle, setting up a shot. Adams got a piece, and it was deflected on the way through. Another corner for Real Monarchs in the 39th minute.
That's a lot more like how Freddie Juarez wants Real Monarchs to play. They keep the ball on the ground, find the man who's in space, and try to send it on frame. He would have preferred to see someone making a run into the box off the ball, but what they did there to build up was very good.
Sent in by Velasco, away from Kavita. Taken by Johnson, plays it on the ground for Chin, and off to the races goes San Antonio. Runner up the left, Jason Johnson down the middle. Still pushing in, Johnson. The back heel effort, Morgan catches up, sends in the service, it's Chin. And he lofts that into the empty seats.
Well done by San Antonio, especially out wide on the right with Morgan. I thought at first that Morgan made a run that was a little too late, but he was able to catch up to it with his speed and those long legs. And he created a dangerous opportunity for San Antonio's. Real Monarchs, they always have to be careful of those quick counters, but they also have to mark a little bit tighter as well and communicate so that Morgan doesn't have that much space to create a dangerous goal-scoring opportunity.
You mentioned it, Morgan's legs. He's 6'5",
yes.
And it seems like he's all legs.
Well, Usain Bolt is what, 6'4", 6'5", same thing, and he's world's fastest man, so.
Morgan dreams of that speed, but speed nonetheless. We all dream of that speed.
Yes, for real.
Here's Leal. Debuted with Club America in the Apertura season of 2013. Played in some CONCACAF Champions League. The Liga MX giant. Lakawecki, a former Notre Dame player. He's kept in on the end line. Dropping off, played in by Okwanu. Trying to back down Rochandel, and now a chance to shoot, knocked away by Cardoni.
Oh, that's a great effort there. In the area. Cardoni comes up with a big save, but he was trying to get it far post.
Torres rushing left, and Adams can't get to this as it was knocked away. Morgan, brilliant touch to create some space, and now battling tooth and nail down the field with Lakawecki, and he'll surely get a card for bringing down Morgan. We talk about diving. That was the epitome of not diving. That was every inch fought for.
Yeah, showing great strength was Taylor Morgan, and Lakawecki. That's a professional foul, as they like to say. He knew that Morgan was getting past him and that he had a lot of space in front of him. So he tussles with him, ties him up, eventually brings him down, and professional foul there. I'm sure Lakawecki was not surprised that he picked up the yellow card.
So a chance to breathe here for San Antonio. They've been on their heels for much of the match, and they've countered. They've looked terrific. Played ahead by Alvarez. Chin bodying down. Alvarez creates space, swirls it in. Takes a couple hops back, and Salazar couldn't keep it. He's running back defensively. Here come Monarchs. Finally, some white jerseys enter the screen. Off on the right side, the shot, Cardoni's there, and he's back to collect it. Man of the match in the first half, Cardoni has been terrific. He stopped a penalty and now twice He has stopped Real Monarchs in the run of play.
Elder Torres knows that he's gotten or had a goal taken away from him. Well done by Matt Cardoni. Made the run on the outside right shoulder of Baez and took a little bit of a touch. I thought he would one-time it. I think if he one-times it, he surprised Cardoni a little bit, keeps that shot low, but he took a bit of a touch that allowed Cardoni to get in better position and then make a big-time save. But Real Monarchs showing that they can come up with a quick counterattack as well, and Baez did well just to win the ball in the midfield and then set up Torres.
An incredible amount of space for them to run into. I mean, you see the ball coming across half field, and there's 30 yards between the nearest defender and the two players making their run.
Yep, and then also remember Baez winning that ball in midfield, so the defender committed and didn't win the ball, so he was gambling that he would get the ball back, knowing that he had all that space behind him. He gambled, he failed, and Baez was able to go off to the races, as they say, and then Torres with the shot. If you're going to win the ball in the midfield, you're playing high after your team has been having so much possession and your back line is playing that far up, you better win the ball, because if you don't, you get burned. And they got burned, just not enough to get a goal, to give up a goal.
No need for much stoppage time in this first half. This game has moved swimmingly. It's played across, and Fujiro Okioma, the header. Cardoni there. Mentioned it during the save there, but Cardoni has just been outstanding.
Absolutely.
And if San Antonio makes the playoffs, there's a very good chance that the penalty kick save he made is the highlight that's talked about as the turning point.
Absolutely, for sure. He has been San Antonio's best player in this first half with the penalty save and then a couple of important saves through the run of play. Real Monarchs should be feeling confident knowing that they can attack Cardoni. They can attack that back line. Now it's just a matter of finishing those opportunities and getting more opportunities.
We don't even get through the first minute of first half
Surprising.
Stoppage time, especially with a penalty kick situation.
Yep.
A couple of yellows too, but this was quite the eventful first half for a 0-0 draw through 45.
Alvarez has to be more involved in the second half for San Antonio, but both teams can take some positives from what happened in the first 45 minutes.
San Antonio and Salt Lake City scoreless at the half. Playoff positions on the line. Highlights, stats when we come back. Rio Tinto Stadium in Sandy, Utah. United Soccer League Game of the Week action. 9th place San Antonio, 11th place Real Monarchs, and a nice crowd on hand here. One of the finer soccer-specific stadia in Major League Soccer. And one of the best games to be played. They're going to bowl those into pins.
Now, what do they get for knocking down all the pins?
I don't know, but
just like respect. I mean, like
I don't know.
That's pretty fun.
But I'm kind of interested in staying with this shot long enough to find out the answer. But someone's got to be willing to get this thing moving. We take a look at our first half highlights. This may be the best of them all.
As long as he gets it in that pocket between the 1 and the 3 pin, we're good.
Well, there were opportunities galore in the first half. Matt Cardone was up to the task, so too was Lalo Fernandez. This penalty could have changed the whole game.
Yeah, I still don't think it was a penalty, but it is what it is. But for fans of San Antonio FC, they say justice will serve. Cardone comes up with a big save to keep it 0-0. And then these two have been battling all night down the far side of the pitch, if you will. And then Velasco, he's been beat up a little bit in this game.
Pretty unfair, I'd say.
Yeah.
And Kavita coming in too strong on the back of McBride. Finally a yellow card. Of all things, that's the yellow?
Yeah, that was not a yellow. Definitely a foul, but not a yellow there. I think Turia has a very good point, a very good argument.
Taylor Morgan, 6'5", showing his coordination.
Yes, he does very well to get into space and then put this shot on frame. And then this one here, Chin, this would have been a spectacular goal if Chin is able to keep that shot down.
And Cardone continuing to show off the moves late. Lakawecki on the back of Morgan, guilty of a yellow card himself. This the final great save of the first half.
Oh, this is brilliant. That was the best chance after the penalty for Real to get the 1-0 advantage to pick up a goal, and Cardone came up and just was able to get enough of a touch on it to keep it out.
Now we've got the best view available of this. What happens here?
Right down the middle. It works.
Oh, does it?
Oh.
Wow. One pin stays up. This is the shocker of the game so far.
Well, you always got to pick up that spare. That's very important. Because if you don't pick up that spare, drinks are on you. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, got to pick up the spare.
We take a look at the halftime statistics, and 11 total shots, 6 on target. The problem for San Antonio is when they got into motion and really brought the counter, they didn't get good enough shots on target. They didn't make Lalo Fernandez really labor at all.
Yeah, Lalo Fernandez is sitting in the back of that San Antonio goal going, or excuse me, the Real Monarchs goal going, you know, I'm getting paid to just relax back here. It's been pretty easy for him in this matchup, but I'm sure San Antonio will put more pressure on him as the game goes on. They are feeling very confident, and between Morgan and Chin, they have shown the ability to disrupt that Monarchs defense, get behind, and work themselves into spaces so that they can get shots on goal.
And 11 fouls for San Antonio, and it feels like 8 of them or more have come against Ricardo Velasco.
Yeah.
That scoreline, though, 0-0. We tell you what it means for the playoff picture. We take a look at the Eastern and Western Conference standings. That's coming up in moments. At halftime, no score here in Salt Lake City. And while we've got a chance, I suppose let's go for it. San Antonio sitting in 9th, 35 points. 1 point, yeah, you're only 1 point out, but you lose your game in hand. You got to take advantage right now, don't you?
Yeah, San Antonio have to come out in this second half and be more aggressive, pick up the 3 points, and get into that mix. You want to make sure you reach the playoffs, not by getting 8th, but getting 7th. So they need to pick up a victory here, put some more pressure on Swope Park to try to get into those to get into 7th. You don't want to just barely get in. You want to be confident. You want to be sure that you get in. And doing that, you get 7th place is the best way to do it.
And Tulsa, the only team in the West that is officially out as it stands right now.
Those top 4 teams have been excellent all season, and Sacramento Republic look like a serious USL title contender. Switchbacks have been very good as well, but Sacramento Republic, the way they've been playing football, playing soccer this season, they look like a team that can win the whole thing.
And while we're at it, let's take a look at the Eastern Conference, because it's been a little easier to project in the East than it has been in the West. And when you look at the top, New York Red Bulls, too, seem ready to go for the playoffs. They won the regular season Shield officially last week. Louisville City and Cincinnati make up the end of that second tier and into the third, and then it's a free-for-all between numbers 3 and 7.
Yep, that playoff positioning is so important because you want to have home field advantage. Top 4 teams will get that home field advantage. So these last few weeks for Cincinnati, Charlotte, Charleston, Rochester, and Richmond will be huge. And it looks like that 8th spot is just going to come down to Orlando City B and Wilmington. So that we will see what happens there. But New York Red Bulls are right now, you mentioned it, they got the Shield. They are the class of the USL right now. But there is a bit of a jinx in professional soccer for the team that is the #1 seed. They get the most points. However, it works out in different leagues. Those teams don't always go on to win it. We'll see if Red Bulls can kind of break that curse.
And who wants to play in Cincinnati? They're getting $20,000 for their regular season finale against OCB. Last year as a 1 seed and a 6 seed, it underscores the importance. You make it in, you never know. Will there be another LA Galaxy 2 style Cinderella story? Will it be one of these two teams? We come back in moments and find out. Second half coming up in Sandy, Utah. Built in 2008, Rio Tinto Stadium, some of the best fans in Major League Soccer, and certainly making themselves welcome here in our United Soccer League Game of the Week. San Antonio, 9th place. Real Monarchs, 11th. A win for either team puts them square in the conversation. A loss, you may be looking at a long offseason. Second half, right around the corner in our United Soccer League Game of the Week. Back outside Salt Lake City in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. 0-0 at halftime between Real Monarchs and San Antonio FC. Such a crucial matchup with 2 games remaining for both teams after this in the USL season. Freddie Juarez, his second season, hoping he isn't on the outside looking in again in 2016 as he was a year ago. This team putting together the lion's share of the possession, but unable to break through. And back with George D. Metellus, Mike Watts, it's got to be a bit disappointing they didn't do more with all the possession they did have.
Yep, there's a part of Freddie Juarez who's saying, man, I wish Matt Cardoni didn't start this game. I wish another goalkeeper was in between the sticks, because Cardoni is the reason why Real doesn't have a 2 or 3 goal advantage in this game after the first 45 minutes. So we'll see what happens. But San Antonio, they were pressing very high in the first half. I suspect that 10, 15 minutes into the second half, they'll get tired. They won't be able to sustain it, and that could open things up more for Real in the second half.
Underway, San Antonio will attack right to left in their all-white kits. A long run out for Elder Torres to start this second half. And if you want really great gifts, you should go to the San Antonio FC Twitter account. They've got a terrific gif of Matt Cardoni's celebration in the first half, and you can only hope he's doing more of that as this game goes along.
The epic beard of Matt Cardoni. Obviously, it did not weigh him down or slow him down in that first half. He was magnificent, denying denying Real Monarchs, the home team, time and time again.
Alvarez going up the right. There's Sean Chin, raised in Miami. Heritage, both Chinese and Jamaican. Terrific versatility he provides. He was playing outside back at the end of April, and he's become an attacking option. Can do a little bit of everything. Listed a midfielder.
And Chin had tried that volley in the first half.
Run in by Okioma, and he'll get a second bite at the apple here. Delivers it off target.
Yep, so far it's been disappointing for Okioma. As we mentioned before the end of the first half, the wingbacks, the fullbacks for both teams have been quiet in this game. They've had very little influence in this game. You wonder when those 2 players, or those 2 sets of players, Okioma and Cochran for San Antonio and Lakaweki and Okwonu, when they will have more of an impact in this game, try to open things up, spread the defenses out.
Here's Ramirez. He'll try from way out there. Well, it was ambitious, but he may have had Cardoni off his line far enough if he steers that on target.
He took a look up before he sent that shot to frame, and he didn't miss by much. Usually we see players from that distance and it goes way up into the stands, but he was able to keep that shot down, and a little bit of a dip, maybe he surprises Cardoni.
Chin rushing up. He's looking to throw, and he'll slow things down. You mentioned that the fullbacks haven't gotten a lot done, and guys like Chin, the 4-3-3 seems to have pinned back the outside backs in a way where they can't get forward as much as they want.
Yep, that's certainly something that I've seen that has happened in this game. That is for sure, that 4-3-3. But also I think too, it's maybe just a little too cautious on the coaches.
Johnson, that goes off the knee of the defender and out by Leal.
Coaches maybe a little cautious, a little conservative. Sometimes coaches, instead of going for a goal, they want to make sure they don't give up a goal. Instead of kind of going for the win, they want to make sure they don't lose. And usually when you play not to lose, you wind up losing. So I expect more risks in the second half.
Whistle against Acosta. And look, 1 point doesn't knock either team out.
Right.
But it doesn't put either team in.
Exactly, yeah. And for Real Monarchs especially, you're at home. You're trying to bounce back after a disappointing loss to a direct rival for the playoffs. You need to come back and be aggressive and try to get 3 points.
Johnson met by Okwanu. Way to lay out. Creatively got that out, if momentarily. He gets it again. Here's Ramirez. Plays to the feet of Velasco. Spins it outside. Elder Torres, the Honduran Olympian. Along the edge of the penalty box. Velasco seeking out targets that never appeared. Leal.
Yeah, Okwonu, the number 2, the right back, he was kind of sneakily running down that right side. A quick turn of the head, and he played Okwonu through, and then who knows what can happen.
Torres trying to play that through, and McBride up to the challenge. 50th minute here in Salt Lake City. Throw coming for Pedro Baez. You'll see Delacowecki.
Look at Okwonu. He's unmarked by himself, pretty much wide open out wide.
And finally does get out there. Boyd Okwonu. Slid away from Torres.
They get it to Okwonu, but the problem is they don't get it to him while he's running into space.
Speaking of getting into space, Johnson playing this over the top, and Chin sliding down was able to put that towards Fernandez.
It's a great ball over the top for Chin. He was able to control it well with his first touch, but losing his footing, couldn't keep it down, couldn't get that clean shot that he wanted. But still, very well done, played over the top to connect with Chin.
Speaks all the way back to the first half star, Matt Cardone. Sam McBride, 22 years old, really doing well for himself here in San Antonio. Morgan. Lackwecki's got to be a little careful here. He's playing on a yellow because he was trying to bring down Morgan in a professional way earlier, and well, he was trying to do it again.
And Morgan, he has to exploit that matchup. He has a size advantage over Lackwecki, but he also seems to have a bit of a speed advantage, a little bit of a skill on the ball advantage as well. I think if they can continue to get Morgan the ball, he can probably make Lackwecki pick up a second yellow card, and then the game would really open up for San Antonio.
Stepping forward, Cochran will give this a look. File that under why not.
Greg Cochran. We didn't even call his name in the first half. I think this is the first time he's actually made a move in the attack, has done something aggressive going forward for San Antonio in this matchup. And we were talking about it. Let's see how much more involved the fullbacks are in the attack for both teams. And Greg Cochran kind of makes that first move for the left back of San Antonio.
Back to Cochran, Virginia Tech and Louisville. His background collegiately, some time with LA Galaxy. Played some time in CONCACAF Champions League and in the US Open Cup as well. Also a little time with Chicago. And has played all 27 this year for San Antonio. It's been the lone constant for a team that's missing, well, half their starting lineup. Stephen McCarthy and Josh Ford left a couple of weeks ago. Cesar Elizondo, Milton Palacios, Michael Reed, Victor Araujo. They're missing half their lineup right now to injury, and that's only made it more difficult. This is an expansion team. They started in December. It's remarkable. And yet, a team that's owned by San Antonio's Spurs Sports and Entertainment has very Spurs mentality to them, don't they?
Absolutely, for sure. And credit to Darren Powell, who's going to try to channel his inner Greg Popovich to try to get his team into the playoffs.
This knocked back towards Cochran, and Okwanu races to catch it.
But just like the Spurs, they don't make excuses. They plug in any player they can. They plug in the players, show that depth.
Alvarez loses this over the end line, and Tim Holt is the managing director for San Antonio FC. He's on site in Salt Lake City tonight and tweeting about the importance of this game, but there has to be something special for a team that began less than 12 months ago. They're playing in an MLS stadium. They're playing in one of the finer facilities in Major League Soccer at that. And they've got a beautiful field in Toyota Field in San Antonio. They're really building something there, something really exciting for the future.
Yep, San Antonio often gets overlooked as being a major city, but it really is a major city in the United States. And with Texas, as big as it is, there's so much opportunity in the state of Texas to develop soccer players and make it a huge hub, a place where talent can be developed. It seems like all the major countries, major soccer playing countries in the world have a city or two where an extraordinary number of soccer players come out of.
Driving ahead and a sliding ball right at Cardoni. And you look at San Antonio, they aren't the only expansion team out of the state of Texas. Rio Grande Valley is having a terrific season in the Western Conference, and you look at Major League Soccer, Houston and Dallas, and there's really something going on down there.
I mean, Texas has the opportunity to be what the state of Florida is in terms of American football, or California in terms of, well, California pretty much seems like everything, but it has that potential.
Lifting this over for Chin, trying to cut it back. It's kept alive by Johnson. Back for Turriere. And he lofts it. Brought down by Alvarez, and he tried to make a move around the defender with no luck.
Yeah, Alvarez just didn't have anyone to pass it to. That was the real issue when he got the ball out wide.
And going down there maybe a little easily, Johnson.
Oh, he took a...
Yeah, that's a little more clear on replay, isn't it?
Yep. Took a knee to the back, or at least to the backside, if you will.
Got to keep that tailbone protected.
Yep. That hurts.
Meanwhile, he draws a foul in a really good position for San Antonio here. And the way they're lined up, they could curl it in, or maybe Alvarez just wants to go for it all here.
Yeah, it's a little bit unusual from that position on the field, that angle on the field. But this is some training ground stuff here that San Antonio tried.
Yeah, there was a plan there.
Yeah.
Surely, we just didn't get to see it all unfold.
Yeah, it didn't quite work out the way they had done it on the practice facility in the training ground, but at least they tried it.
Always looks better there, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure. Coaches, all right, guys, let the offense, let the attack see how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah, always funny how the attacking pieces are worked on a lot more than the defending ones. You do it till you get it right, and eventually the defense almost assuredly goes, just let him have it. I gotta get off of this field.
For sure.
Here on Oklahoma. Turriere turning that. Chance here for the Monarchs. Driven across towards Torres. Knocked down, turning, and Ramirez couldn't get the shot away and put it on net.
Ramirez, he saw Okwonu a little late. Okwonu wasn't making that hard run. That's why he wasn't able to connect with him.
Velasco again, taken away by Fajiro Okioma, sliding into the touchline to deflect it into the seats.
And Velasco, very quiet second half for him. We saw him in the first half become the target of some physical tackles. Second half, he hasn't had to put up with that kind of stress, we'll put it that way, but he's been out of the game. Not too many touches in the second half. You wonder if all those physical encounters that he experienced kind of took him out of the game a little bit in the second half.
Nearing the hour mark in Utah. Real Monarchs on a good run of form lately. 3-1-2 in their last 6. Their kryptonite this year has been the second half. They've been outscored 23-13. For San Antonio, a team who seem to be flailing to the finish. No wins in their last 3. But a team still in 9th place. Still very much in the mix. They were 14th in the West this time last month, and they've made an incredible turnaround.
If they do not make the playoffs this year, San Antonio, they are setting themselves up for an excellent run next season. Very difficult for an expansion team to make the playoffs in their first season. But they can lay the foundation for the style of play they want, the kind of player they want to fit that style of play, and then build from there.
Tourier, the Haitian international. Lifted by Salazar. Trying to unlock Morgan against Lakawecki. Sends a cross that's misguided at best. Out over the end line.
Yeah, Lakawecki did well there to make sure Morgan didn't get past him. Got a leg up and prevented the service from getting in. So well done by Lakawecki.
Here's one of the secret weapons for San Antonio. He's been terrific since coming over. Frank Tayu. Set to come on for Sean Chin, who put in a lot of work tonight. He was really a target on the wing.
I'm surprised by that move. I like the way Sean Chin was moving and what he was doing to get on the end of passes and run at the Real defense. I thought Jason Johnson might be the one that would come off, but it's Chin that gets substituted.
A little disappointing here for Darren Powell because he's trying to work minutes. You've got Jason Johnson, who's healthy and maybe not producing in the context of this game, but Chin coming off a long layoff of nearly 2 months. And he's the hot hand, and you still have to take him off after 60 or so minutes.
Yep. On those situations, the players just need time to recover, get into fitness. It appears to me with that substitution, they planned to take him off in the 60th minute.
Yep.
So they're sticking to the plan. Long-term health is the most important thing.
And especially if you're going to make a playoff run,
yeah,
you need to get there, of course. But even if you walk out of here with a point, you're just 1 behind OC Blues. And you've got a game against Tulsa, who have already been eliminated at home, San Antonio, and then they're at Rio Grande Valley for an in-state rivalry match. You got to have Sean Chin healthy for that. Frank Tayu taking his place over there for the time being. Attack still on, played in for Tayu. He settles and he shoots. Simply not good enough from Tayu coming off the bench.
Tayu being aggressive, looking for the shot, but when this ball gets played in, Carlos Alvarez is right behind him. If he does a dummy and lets the ball go right through his legs, Alvarez has a fantastic chance to pick what corner he wants to shoot and score the goal.
Incredible that Tourier wasn't whistled for a foul there because he went in high trying to get the ball, and Johnson knocks that off of Kavita for a corner.
Elbow to the face, side of the head.
Look, he goes for the ball. That part's clear, but
right.
The road is paved with good intentions, as it might be.
Oof, that's painful right there.
Torres receiving treatment. Member of that Honduran Olympic team. Last year he was on the U20 World Cup team. He called it a dream come true. Chance to finish 4th in the Olympics. Surely would have liked to have come home with a medal, but still a terrific performance for him and his side. Neymar was going to win that the whole time, right?
Yeah, it was destined, destined for Brazil to get that gold medal.
San Antonio sending this across. Got the Tayu, Turrier settling it down and lifted away by Velasco. Morgan muscling between two players.
That's that strength. That's that big body, that strength, able to win back the possession, hold on to possession. That is so important for San Antonio, who right now, they're playing the game at their pace, at their rhythm.
Morgan coming over from Tulsa mid-season. England, Southampton Academy. Meanwhile, here's an opportunity for Velasco and Real Monarchs. Dropping it off, turning Ramirez. He goes down, and San Antonio clears the pressure.
Oh, Johnson playing with fire by making that tackle from behind.
Tayu looking a little bit obtuse right now, just not getting the perfect touch on the first couple of opportunities he's had on the ball, 24 in white.
He's still just kind of warming up and getting into the game, but he's got to work on the communication with Alvarez, that's for sure.
And Salazar whistled for a foul.
Looks to me that with that substitution of Tayu, what was a 4-3-3 is now a 4-4-2 with Alvarez up top with Tayu, and then Morgan and Jason or Jason Johnson, I should say, are out wide. Obviously Morgan at the right and Jason Johnson on the left. They've come drop back a little bit further. It's kind of like a flat four, and then Salazar and Tuya in the midfield. That's what it's looking like a 4-4-2 now.
Leal lofted in by Torres. There are 3 white shirts to take the ball, and Johnson finally brings it down. Frank the Tank, they call him. He came in with really unprecedented level of success for a San Antonio player this year. 9 games. He amassed a very quick 4 goals, but goalless since in his last 5. Johnson plays it across. There's some room here, and that bounces over Morgan and out of play.
That's why it's so important, the timing. If Morgan is there a second earlier, he can play that one off of his chest, and then he can decide to go on goal or to set up Tayu. He was unmarked in the box, so that's why timing is so important when you make those runs.
And here's an attacking sub if I've seen one. Rafa Castillo comes on for Sebastian Turrier, who had been playing on a yellow card since midway through the first half. Second substitute of 5 available to San Antonio. Well, the run up on the left side. Ramirez running down the middle. Velasco finally turned away.
Five San Antonio players were in the box when Velasco made his run. They completely shut off every single angle he could possibly have to get that ball into the area. Then they pushed him toward the corner. It's good defense there by San Antonio.
Adams trying to combine there. Rochandel involved on that defense, and out to Tayu, trying to hold up play. Down goes Morgan. Nilo Acosta throwing his finger up. It's tough to be the small guy like Velasco, and it can be tough to be the big guy like Morgan.
The bigger they come, the harder they fall. Yes, that's for sure. Acosta wanted to make sure Morgan didn't get through. And luckily for Acosta, he didn't pick up a yellow card, because it did look like that it could be a yellow card challenge, but referee keeping the cards in his pocket.
Dell was looking there for quite a while and delivers it to Leal. Ramirez, Oguanu, spin for Adams. Looking for Velasco. Has Lakawecki overlapping. Instead chooses Leal. Englishman Adams. Oguanu. Touched by Johnson on the way through. And out into the seats.
Starting to see Oguanu now get more and more involved. He's starting to push up more down that right side. And he hasn't had to worry about defending too much, because Jason Johnson, who's been on the left side of the attack for San Antonio, has not done much attacking. So Oguanu has that freedom to push up at the right back position.
He's able to keep the ball there, which is impressive in its own right. Torres, and it falls to Alvarez. So what can Castillo and San Antonio do here? Flipped off the back foot of Leal. Castillo couldn't chase it down. Up the wing, Velasco, run down by Okioma. Throw for Real Monarchs here, 71st minute.
Yeah, I have a feeling in this game, the way the attacks are going, we might get a goal very late in this game. It just seems like both teams are breaking down when they get to that final third. San Antonio is not pressing as high up as they did in the first half. So that allows Real to get the ball.
Falls here, Baez. For Ramirez, there's some room here to operate. Back for Oguanu, and knocked away. He just didn't come nearly fast enough, and Johnson leading it back for San Antonio. And Oguanu is pressing forward. It leaves room over here. Johnson lays it off. Alvarez chips it off the crossbar and out.
Oh, that is a brilliant, brilliant idea by Carlos Alvarez. A lot of times you see players go for power. You saw that Lalo Fernandez might have been inching off his line a little bit, and he tried to chip him, and he just got it off the crossbar. But it's great imagination on the part of Carlos Alvarez.
Don't you love the mental games of that moment?
Oh, yeah.
You saw the finger wag come out immediately from Fernandez. He certainly was ready for that in a way that I think Alvarez didn't quite expect.
Well, Fernandez needs to be kissing the crossbar, because that's what really saved him.
That's right.
He can finger wag all he wants, but he didn't make the save. It was the crossbar that had his back. So he needs to kind of do what Iker Casillas used to do when he would get a ball off the post, give it a little kiss.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Very lucky, but the imagination and the gall to try it, you have to give Carlos Alvarez great credit for that. That was good stuff.
Alvarez has scored in 2 straight. You got to be feeling a little big for your britches
Yeah,
there,
absolutely.
a little confidence.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. If that ball goes in, my goodness.
Yeah.
San Antonio is just going to be riding high for the rest of the game. But the creativity, the imagination to try it was great.
Torres lines it off of Okioma. Throw for the Monarchs here, 73rd minute. Goalless draw so far. 3 points so important tonight. San Antonio 2 points out of the 8th spot in the playoffs. This through ball, Cardoni comes up. Keeper's been rounded, played back through, punched away, the shot!
Oh!
Put in by Charles Adams. His first goal as a member of the Monarchs, and it may keep Salt Lake City in playoff contention.
And Matt Cardoni, who has played so well in this matchup, loses his composure and is just running around like the proverbial chicken with his head cut off, and he leaves that goal wide open, and Adams is there to finish it. Chaos in the area, but it started with Torres getting into the area, disrupting the defense. Cardoni, he's got to jump on and catch that ball. He's swiping it with his left hand like it's a volleyball. No, you're the goalkeeper. You have to jump on top of it and hold on to the possession. What is he thinking there? That's just unnecessary. Jump on top of it, grab the ball, put it to your chest, and hold on to it. And if you get kicked, the referee will call the foul in your favor. Cardoni rushed out on Elder Torres, and he left the goal wide open there. So a little bit of lack of composure there, and it worked for Real Monarchs.
Charles Adams scores his first in his second start, third game for Real. Good work by the Englishman who was brought in on loan through the Brentford Academy. Stevenage FC, his most recent stop. Tayu going all the way to the end line for it. And he can't get it. We talked about the game opening up. I think this should do it. San Antonio is going to have every reason to send numbers forward.
It's a mistake in the back by the San Antonio defense.
And it's certainly a game of inches. McBride got a piece of it.
Yep.
Goalkeeper Cardoni gets a piece of it. But in the end, Freddie Juarez's team comes away with a goal, because when you create chaos like that, eventually something's going to break down. And Cardoni's stopped a penalty and really 2 or 3 outstanding chances for Real. By the law of averages, even a good goalie is going to give one up eventually with those kinds of opportunities.
Absolutely, but not like that.
Not like that.
That's the key right there. You get a good goal, well-worked pass, someone takes a great shot, and it's just at the perfect angle. That's one thing. But he had a chance to jump on top of the ball, hold on to possession, and keep it to his chest, and he didn't.
Down goes the substitute at the goal, Danny Garcia.
Ooh, Velasco, yeah. Velasco has no reason to complain. He kicked Garcia in the back of his feet from behind. He could have gotten red carded for that. I mean, depending on the officials and how they interpret it, could have been a red card there for Ricardo Velasco.
He picks up a yellow here. And ceding a chance to one of the great free kick takers in this league, Rafa Castillo. Drives it right into the center of the 18. Fernandez missed it entirely, and Tayu comes out to retrieve. Holding down the left wing, Cochran. Reversing. Castillo will try it again, this time more of a line drive off of Tayu.
Spacing not quite right there for San Antonio.
Salazar turns it over. Here's Torres. Adams, the goal scorer. Playing it to the feet. Pedro Baez. Still no subs from Real Monarchs. That may slow the game up later on. They try and take home 3 points in their final home match of the season. They play at Arizona and at LA Galaxy 2 at the Track and Field Complex in Carson, California to close out their regular season. It would be disappointing for San Antonio. You give up 3 points. Not only do you stay 2 points away, as Fernandez comes out to grab it, but you let another team out in front of you.
Yes.
And now you've got to climb 2 teams. You got to hope 2 teams flail down the stretch to get yourself into the playoffs.
And that's one of the reasons why in the beginning of the broadcast, in the pregame, we said this is an elimination game. Mathematically, they're still alive, but all the teams you have to climb over, the deficit of points that you have to climb over, it makes it nearly impossible. It's not impossible, but nearly impossible that the loser of this game will make it to the playoffs.
3 points for San Antonio. They're 5 points clear of Salt Lake City in 8th, and a point clear of Orange County, who are under new ownership. Excitement around that franchise as they try and get into the playoffs. OC Blues, and Salt Lake City here comes away with 3 points. They're just 1 point away from getting into the playoffs despite what was a putrid stretch where they won just 2 of 9 games. And anytime you take 6 points in 9 outings, you don't feel like you have a great chance to make the postseason in a 30-game season. And alas, here they are right on the doorstep. We've been talking about the Western Conference all year, that it was going to be a dogfight for playoff positioning. Vancouver and Oklahoma City still aren't in. They've been at the top of the standings nearly the entire season in the Western Conference.
That's why it's called, and it seems like in every sport it's like this, every league, but it's the Wild Wild West. It just seems like doesn't matter what league
the
it is.
NBA every year.
Every year it's the Wild Wild West, and in USL it's no different. It literally will come down to the last game of the season before the playoff picture is finally known and clear.
Whistle against Real Monarchs here. 81st minute. Go-ahead tally, 74th minute. Charles Adams in the midst of chaos. A absolutely massive goal. Johnson battling. Cochran shipping it across towards Tayu, and a little bobble, but Fernandez pulls it in. The 23-year-old Mexican who's been terrific the last 4 games, 16 saves. He's allowed just 1 past him in a 4-game unbeaten stretch in goal.
Those are the performances you need toward the end of the season in order to make a legitimate run at the playoffs. And those goalkeepers, they have to be absolutely massive, because there are going to be games where they have to make 5 or 6 saves, where their team, those guys in the outfield, will not be able to get 2 goals, and they'll have to hold on to a 1-goal advantage. So the goalkeepers, they are often overlooked, but their contributions to playoff runs are so important.
Which is not to take anything away from the effort that Eric Oswald put in a fill-in effort on the 9th. He put up 9 saves against OC Blues in a 2-0 defeat. He is a Xavier product, and our thoughts with them, obviously, as their field flooded. An opportunity for Monarchs to take it, and they do. Baez, who missed the penalty earlier, doesn't miss this time. 5-hole, the dance, and the 2-goal lead.
And it's Baez once again with the opportunity. He converts it, but the big thing here is he was able to stay on sides and time his run. San Antonio pushing up, that back line just getting higher and higher, trying to help out, get numbers ahead for the goal. And Adams finds him over the top. He manages to stay on sides. Controls it, finishes strong. All the San Antonio defenders are looking for the offsides flag. And it's just well done, perfectly placed by Baez. And that will probably be the goal that secures the 3 points.
19 years old, he missed a penalty, and you wouldn't have blamed him if a little doubt creeped into his mind. The Paraguayan, alas, that's as clinical as it gets. That's beyond the years of a 19-year-old.
Yes, that's for sure. He came up with Cerro Porteño, which is one of the big clubs in Paraguayan football. Obviously, Olimpia is the other one, and learned some things at that club. The Paraguayan with a huge finish, and then that's what you want to see from those strikers. When they get into those opportunities, they're calm, they're composed, and they finish well. He did all 3 of those things, and those 3 things might just, as I said before, secure the 3 points.
It's upcoming for the Monarchs. Oriana set to return. Scored in the first 3 games, and then didn't score from the 9th of April until the 13th of August. He's got 5 goals on the year as a substitute. Con Oriana. It's enough for Ramirez, the winger who never really amounted to much in the final product, but was very busy here tonight for Salt Lake.
And it's a move by Freddy Juarez, basically like for like, but it's not a move in which he is trying to preserve a 2-0 advantage. He wants more goals. It's a very aggressive move. You gotta like that.
Well, they may try and get it right here. Brought down by Velasco and falls to his number 10 counterpart, Alvarez. This is one that's likely to sting for San Antonio. Had some chances there in that first half. Johnson breaking through the defense. He shoots it wide. That could have brought one back, and he had Tayu available to him had he chosen to widen out, but Johnson off the mark.
Look at what, we're not gonna see it here in this replay, but the way he was able to get in there and work it very well for, looked like it was Okiyama who was able to get in, or Tayu, but it gets tight. The passing between Johnson and Okiyama, look at that little touch by Okiyama right between his own legs. Johnson continued to make the run. That was some smooth football right there by San Antonio. Unfortunately, it did not lead to a goal, but that movement right there, that little kind of back heel by Okiyama between his own legs to Johnson was great football.
And that's a time-wasting yellow card, and it looked like Boyd Ogwanu picked it up, which would just be his third of the year, still far away from a yellow card accumulation issue. Always a thought when you get towards the end of the regular season. Of course, if you're sitting on 4 in the finale, I'd pick up the yellow just to prove a point.
Absolutely, no doubt about it, especially if you're not going to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Early vacation,
yeah, Boyd Ogwanu does pick up that yellow. Here's Castillo. Two-fisted lob away from Fernandez. Castillo. Trying to switch up the right. He's able to reach Danny Garcia. And you look at the subs that have been made by San Antonio. Garcia, Castillo, Tayu, all attacking options who played significant roles in their most recent game. 3-1 loss to St. Louis, but shuffling the deck a bit offensively and appearing to bust here in this third to final game of the season.
San Antonio in this game relied on.
Tayu seemed to forget something there.
Yep. They tried to rely on breaking quickly and trying to catch Real Monarchs off guard. What happened is when they did have a good chunk of possession, just couldn't build up anything through the midfield, especially up the middle. And that made it easier for Real Monarchs to defend. When you can defend out wide, push players out wide.
Cochran was able to get that across. Oh, Alvarez! We nearly got one back there for San Antonio, the dipping line drive.
But that ball came from the left side and they switched it over to the right side. And then Alvarez just unable to finish it. Good little pass there by Orellana. But San Antonio have just not been able to build anything through the attack, through the midfield. Multiple, a possession of 6, 7, 8 passes that led to a goal-scoring chance. And I think that's hurt them in this game.
And here's a Major League Soccer player, Garcia, coming on. He's 1 game short of 100 in his Major League Soccer career for Real Salt Lake. Acquired in 2013, this is his 5th start for Real Monarchs. He's been dealing with some tightness the last couple of weeks. But did play at Portland on the 10th over the weekend. He's running right down the center here, although this ball zigged when he zagged.
Yeah, I think he Got that burst up the middle.
Trying to seek out a target, and it was Taiyu, the intended receiver. 90th minute, 2-0 in favor of Real Monarchs. They try and bolster their chances of making the playoffs in the United Soccer League's Western Conference.
This is a good result. Obviously, this is a very good result for Real Monarchs. But they have to tighten up their marking defensively. There were plenty of opportunity for San Antonio. They had some space around the penalty area. You see Alvarez, the both times that he took shots on frame, there was no Real defender pressing up on him, getting tight on him, rushing his shot, if you will. So it's a little bit of things to work on for this stretch run, this final few games for Real Monarchs, but they pick up 2 goals, and that's the most important thing.
And now both of these teams are totally in the mix.
Yeah.
OC Blues is, as it stands right now, 2 points beyond San Antonio, 1 point ahead of Real Monarchs in the Western Conference. That's 8, 9, and 10 in the Western Conference. All of a sudden, these last 2 games have tremendous meaning for all involved. Foul whistled against Carlos Alvarez. And I think the game plans for both teams very much counter to each other, but I thought it was a good matchup here. The counter-attacking efforts by San Antonio, the possession efforts of Real Monarchs, and once they were able to get some passes moving forward, Real Monarchs were able to undo San Antonio over the course of this second half.
Yeah, what happened to San Antonio is that they they wanted to counterattack.
Adams plays it across, was looking for a third.
San Antonio wanted to, in the first half they pressed very high. They tried to win the ball deep in their own attacking half of the field so that they could get a couple of very good goal scoring opportunities. It didn't quite work, and Real Monarchs figured it out. They did not attack and press as high in the second half, and that's when Monarchs started to get space and make things happen.
Castillo off of Sunley and Leal both. Still 90 seconds or so to play here. And meanwhile, for Real Monarchs, you get goals from 2 guys who didn't even start the season, didn't start August with your team. Pedro Baez entering the fold at the end of July, and Charlie Adams coming on in the August 3rd loan into the Real Salt Lake system. This is definitely the concept of having a USL team associated with an MLS team in the works.
And one thing about that is credit to Freddie Juarez for incorporating them, making them learn the system very quickly.
That's touchdown. No final product from Oklahoma. Yeah, that's tough on a coach.
Yeah.
Trying to incorporate players late, and you have players like the RSL product, Chris Schuler, going back up this month, and Ricardo Velasco signed up onto a first-team deal. So your best players are getting yanked and brought up. You're incorporating young guys, academy guys, and guys that you're trying to bring in to get a look in the final month.
And all the while making a playoff push in the process. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. But credit to Freddie Juarez. He kept the team together. The philosophy is there. And they get a big win here against San Antonio, and they're still alive in the playoffs. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely massive, this result in the Western Conference. San Antonio drops to 10th, and Real Monarchs with a 2-goal win move into 9th place and 1 point out of playoff positioning in the Western Conference. Stone-faced Freddie Juarez walking over to Darren Powell, his coaching compatriot, his rival tonight. His team comes out a 2-goal win, and they come away with 3 points, and they deserve it.
Yeah, very patient performance by Real Monarchs in the first 45 minutes, 55 minutes, but they were able to get those goals and with Adams' goal beginning in the 74th, and they came through for them, and they're still alive in the playoff hunt. And they will cause teams problems if they make it into that top 8.
Adams in the 74th, Baez in the 82nd. We tell you how it happened. Look back at highlights and statistics when we return. The Monarchs win 2-0 over San Antonio full time. Pedro Baez is grinning and hugging. He scores his first goal for Al Monarchs. He missed a penalty kick in the first half, but he seals the win for Al Monarchs at home at Rio Tinto, their final home game of the year. They knock out San Antonio 2-0. Mike Watts back with George D. Metellus. Time to look at the highlights. In the early going, some opportunities for San Antonio on the counter. They could have had something here.
Yeah, Carlos Alvarez was their most consistent attacking threat throughout the match. There's the penalty kick save as Cardoni had an excellent first half, and he comes up with a big save there, and San Antonio were still in it. Those two were battling it out all night, Jason Johnson and Boyd Kwonu. And the physical play was really for San Antonio in the first half. They wanted to establish their presence, but it did not lead to a goal, and ultimately it would cost them as they got tired and didn't pursue the game as hard in the second half.
16 fouls and 2 cards in the first half. This coming right at the end of the opening 45. Morgan curling it across. Could have been a chance for San Antonio. He was strong tonight. He had a couple of really good attacking moves.
Yep, and he also set up a couple of occasions there. There's Chin there missing the volley. There was another one a few minutes earlier in which Chin, if he made the right run, could have had an easy shot on target. And Morgan, one-on-one against Lakowecki really was a mismatch that San Antonio couldn't exploit, however.
And that right before the end of the first half. Matt Cardoni was the star of the opening 45 minutes. But as we move into the second half of play, this is a team in Real Monarchs who were able to impose their way of playing. And San Antonio could have had a chance here.
Yep, Sean Chin would be subbed off. He was able to get behind the defense a couple times. Cochran, quiet match for him. That was his only real chance at glory or a chance in the spotlight, as both teams were just trading back and forth. And Tayu, if he leaves that one, let it go through his legs as a dummy for Alvarez, Alvarez probably could have scored there. He had 2 or 3 very good chances, Alvarez, throughout the match.
Alvarez off the crossbar that time. Here's the first goal that comes in the 74th minute. Total chaos. Charles Adams' first goal as a Monarch.
Yeah, Charles Adams does well to put this one over the line into the back of the net, but it is a mistake by Cardoni that really gives him the opportunity and the opening.
And Adams, the setup on the second. Pedro Baez knocking out the boogeyman. He scores after missing the PK in the 82nd.
There's nothing a striker loves more than if they miss a penalty kick to get a goal in the same game. This was a smooth touch here by Okioma, and unfortunately for San Antonio, Jason Johnson couldn't finish it. But that touch by Okioma was something special.
Baez comes away with that game-assuring goal, setting up the 2-goal win and the 3-point result. We take a look at the full-time highlights, full-time statistics. And in the end, plenty of opportunities for both teams. It was who took them and who didn't. 20 total shots. Monarchs more shots on goal, and 25 total fouls. It was physical. It was a strong match. And in the end, Real Monarchs picks up 3 points and a 2-goal win.
Yes, and deservedly so. When you have 7 out of 10, 70% of your shots go on goal, you deserve to win the game. And that was the case for Real Monarchs. And the 2 yellow cards were unfortunate, but it is what it is. The referee made their decisions. But the shots on goal, when 70% of your shots go on goal, you're usually going to win, and that was the case right there. And they deserve to win it, and it's good to see them in the mix for the playoffs still.
And important to note that if either of these teams make the championship game, exciting announcement by the United Soccer League this week. That game will be played on ESPN3 in prime time on Sunday, October 23rd at 8 p.m. And whether your team makes it or not, we certainly hope that you join us in celebrating the season, as we'll see who makes the playoffs and who makes that run all the way to the USL Championship game. Technical facilities provided, as always, by the tremendous people of Vista World Link. Our producer, Kevin Brelenthon, director, Jess Eichhorst, and our director emeritus, Morgan Lubin, and our entire Rush Media crew that's been with us all season long. Mike Watts sang for George D. Metellus, Juan Arango, and our full group of talent. So long from Real Salt Lake. Real Monarchs, a 2-goal win over San Antonio. They bolster their playoff resume. They're a point out with 2 to go. This has been the United Soccer League Game of the Week. So long, everybody.
Stretched out to the middle, back to
Broken up. There's a shot. They score! They score!
Bernardo Fords.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League may not be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the express written consent from the United Soccer League.